Now pitching for the Braves, number 40, Mike Soroka. Leading off, right fielder number 13, Ronald Acuna Jr. Second baseman number 1, Ozzie Albies. Catcher number 16, Travis d'Arnaud. Now pitching for the Braves, number 50, Josh Tomlin. Leading off, center fielder number 11, Ender Inciarte. Shortstop number 7, Dansby Swanson. First baseman number 5, Freddie Freeman.
pretty much bounced back from that since then, and seemingly not having any issues with it since.
Well, and you really don't hear a lot about shoulder issues nowadays. It's all about the elbow, the ligament, the Tommy John type stuff. But so it is interesting when you hear that.
Soroka facing new Brave, Marcell Ozuna.
Nice pitch. A little sinker down and in. Beautiful.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Better than a scrimmage.
I tell you, yeah, what could be better?
Thanks, Skip.
Goodness gracious. Oh, my.
Well, if you missed it, Marcell just
sounds
hard foul.
Sounds like the folks are hearing us out there, Greg.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, we're gonna check back in here, but sounds like some folks are able to hear us now.
Okay, I thought we were just talking amongst ourselves.
Well, we were, and we might be.
We're just having a great time.
We are having a good time here.
Oh, good pitch. Here we go. 2 fastballs in and paint the slider away. You gotta love that.
Third baseman number 27, Austin.
Will Herndon says, "Oh, I hear you." So that must mean we're on. We're good. All right. We got the thumbs up. Well, sorry about that, everybody. Greg McMichael and myself, Ricky Mast. We normally host the Behind the Braves, presented by Billy Reed, the official podcast of the Atlanta Braves. We've been talking to each other here for the first inning of this intra-squad scrimmage from Truist Park. Mike Soroka on the hill, facing Austin Riley. 81 miles an hour off the plate. As we stated our first 2 games the other night and at the outset of tonight's broadcast, though I don't know if you could hear us, we are certainly not professional broadcasters. We are at best poor imitators, but we're doing our best to bring you some Braves action here from Truist Park. 1-1 the count on Austin Riley. And our thanks to the good folks of Braves Vision, setting up a couple cameras and throwing us a couple microphones so we could bring you the action here from Truist Park as we get ready for the 2020 season, which is now less than a week away.
If you've been watching, there's been a lot of grimacing tonight so far.
Yeah.
Balls off the hands, balls off the feet. So the pitchers are definitely working inside a little bit more, which I like. Of course, Mike's got that great sinker, so he can really run it in there on their kneecaps.
1-2 on Austin. Got him swinging. Boy, Mike looks like he's ready to get the season started.
Yeah, he's sharp, and that's what we want to see from your ace. He's got to set the tone, and we're looking to Mike to do that. So after this start, he'll be getting ready for the season. But I'm seeing a lot of confidence, and he's sharp with his pitches. His slider looks good. His fastball in looks good. So that's a great sign for the Bravos.
Yonder Alonso coming up for his first plate appearance of the night. He got some good news today, along with Josh Tomlin. They both got added to the Major League roster today.
Yeah, very nice. Got to be pumped about that.
If you were with us, ball 1 on Alonso. If you were with us for the first 2 scrimmages that we called the other night, we talked a lot about depth and the importance of depth and how this team had a lot of it and how there were opportunities for guys to win jobs, and Yonder Alonso is, in fact, one of those guys.
Yeah, good left-handed bat, and then, of course, we all know what Josh did last year and what a valuable asset he is to the bullpen. He pretty much did everything we asked him to do, and he's a bulldog out there and very aggressive and pounds the zone, and I'm so glad that he's going to be back.
Bobby Lahir, I'm sorry if I messed up your name, Bobby, listening from Tomball, Texas. I might have messed up his last name and the town he's from, but Bobby, we appreciate you listening, man. And again, we'll be trying to check in on the Facebook comments every now and then. If you have questions for World Series champ and former Braves closer Greg McMichael, throw him in there. Our buddy Kevin McAlpin from 680 The Fan might be joining us here in a little bit for an inning or two. So opportunity to throw some questions his way as well. 1-2 the count on Alonso. And there's a welcome sight.
There we go.
If you're watching, granted you couldn't hear us, but boy, it's a welcome sight to see Freddie Freeman back out there. That's been the best news of the week in Braves country. Freddie Freeman and Tuki Toussaint cleared to return. Freddie, if you didn't see the video on social media yesterday of Freddie walking out onto the field for the first time, it was so great and it was just genuine. He walked up out of the dugout onto the field and he just goes, oh, this is wonderful. And I think we all felt that way, just how wonderful that was to see Freddie back on the field. Anytime you get your best player back or one of your best players, that's always good news.
Always helps to have a Gold Glover at first base, team leader, MVP candidate every year. So that was definitely a sight for sore eyes, and we wish Freddie all the best and having another great year like we know he's capable of doing.
Lance, watching from Clovis, New Mexico. Go Braves.
Nice.
Tani, Tallapoosa, Georgia. Did I screw that up, Greg? Tallapoosa? I'm not familiar with that city.
I mean,
okay, I like it.
Good for
All right.
For a hillbilly, it's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad, huh? Not bad. Again, this is where that poorly impersonating professional broadcasters thing comes into play. Ordinarily, you can hear us on Behind the Braves presented by Billy Reed, the official podcast of the Braves. We just put out a new episode the other day with new Fox Sports South sportscaster Kelly Kroll. We had a great time getting to know her, so check that out if you haven't heard us before. Speaking of Billy Reed, by the way, Greg, I'm sporting full Billy Reed tonight. The shirt, the pants, very comfortable.
Yeah, you're looking sharp. I've got his pants on. Well, not his pants, but
that'd be
pants
wild.
that he makes.
That's wow. You and Billy are better buddies than I thought. Wow. Okay.
No, this is, and I want to throw a shout out to Ed Mangan. You know, we just had a huge thunderstorm went by for about an hour or so, and they whipped this field right into shape, and it looks just as good as ever. We got to watch them do their magic.
Sure did. And when we first got to the ballpark a little bit ago, it was not looking too pleasant out here. There was lightning and thunder and rain, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to play tonight. But not only are we playing, we started on time. So kudos to the grounds crew, Ed Mangan and the fellas getting it done as always. Josh Tomlin back on the hill, starts Johan Camargo out. First pitch strike.
That's the way you do it.
Leo Mazzoni would be proud.
Go strike one to make these things work.
Looks like he went back there, same pitch for strike two.
It's such a great weapon. If you've got control, just to drop a breaking ball in there, first pitch. Get them behind.
Zach on Facebook, Zach Purdy. Thank you so much for being on. I missed Braves baseball. I'm from Westminster, South Carolina. Well, Zach, we're glad to be on. We're glad to have you with us. Johan with a single. Start the top of the second.
We call a bloop single.
A little bloop single there.
But you know, hey, still got a chance for a double play right here. It's hard to know. I mean, am I rooting for the pitchers or am I rooting for the hitters?
You just root for the Braves.
No, I'm always rooting for the pitchers.
Yeah, I know you are. Former pitcher. You
even
stick with your
love,
brethren.
Even though I love Adam.
You stick with it. We do love Adam Duvall, former Behind the Braves guest. Adam's going to put one right through, right there between Adaney and Ozzie. Moves Johan over to third. So
get it on the nose.
Let's see how Josh reacts here. First two hitters reach base.
First baseman number 5, Freddie Freeman.
We mentioned this when Freddie came up for his first at bat, which, by the way, now if you didn't already know, this is a scrimmage, and that means we can pretty much, the guys can do things however they want. Freddie just batted last inning, and guess what? He needs to get about 30, 35 at bats before opening day next week, so he's ready. So he's going to bat again this inning.
Yeah, and they pulled Johan off the bases. I don't know if he's got what he's got going on, but sometimes they'll do that in a scrimmage. They want to set up a situation for the pitcher or a situation for the hitter, and they'll they'll kind of construct what they want, because that's the beauty of having your own scrimmage. So I don't know if that's what's going on or if Johan tweaked something running around the bases, but
Yeah, he's walking a little, slight limp there, but
gingerly.
Yeah, hopefully he's just, this being a scrimmage, hopefully he's just taking extra precaution. But if we hear anything official, we'll pass that along to you. But back to the good news department. Freddie Freeman back in uniform, back on the field here at Truist Park. A sight for sore eyes when he arrived here yesterday and was taking some BP and taking grounders at first.
Oh.
Freddie's going to
hit that one on the nose.
Yeah, bounce one off the right field wall there just below the chop house. He's going to send the first run of the game home, and he's going to be standing up at third base. Now, that is the Freddie Freeman we know and love and like to see right there.
Nothing like being off for a couple weeks and jumping in there and hitting a triple.
Number 25, Tyler Flowers.
I think Ronald was trying to, as we say, deke somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
Knew he hit that ball pretty good.
It worked on me.
Oh,
I'm trying to get my.
I didn't know if he lost it, but.
And again, Freddie, stopped at third there, and this being a simulated game and him just coming back, he went ahead and just now came off the field, went back into the dugout. He got his work in there, got another AB.
Well, Freddie's just a hitting machine. I mean, he can wake up and get a hit. He's just that good. And some guys are like that. I mean, there's been guys that you didn't really want to face in critical times, and I would imagine most pitchers don't like seeing Freddie walk up there because he can find a way to get a hit.
Tyler Flowers fouls one back. 0-1. A little outside for ball one. 1-1 the count. We've talked a lot about Freddie. I don't know when we'll see Touki Toussaint back on the mound, but he also was cleared to return. Has been back at the ballpark, working out, getting ready. Again, we keep coming back to depth. Another important piece.
Well, the good thing about Touki is he didn't get real sick, so I think he continued to work out. So he should be closer than if he just took 2 weeks off and didn't do anything. That would be really tough to come back from and all of a sudden get out there and start pitching in the game. But it sounds like he and Will were able to throw and stay in somewhat of shape, and so I would anticipate that he'll try to get out here before long and maybe get an inning in. Now, I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to start out and go out there and try to throw 3 or 4 innings. That might be tough to do, but definitely try to get him some work in one of these 2 scrimmages, or I guess we've got this tonight and 2 more scrimmages, and then we've got the Marlins coming into town. So hopefully Touki can get out there and he can be used in a relief role.
3-1 the count on Flo, or Flo Pro as we call him when he's gracious enough to wear a camera for us on his helmet.
Yeah.
Fouls one back, full count.
No cameras tonight.
None that I'm aware of.
That's a pretty cool shot, being able to see that ball come in there like that.
Very cool. We need to get a GoPro on Wash, although I don't know.
Put it on his foot.
There you go. Yeah, GoPro on his foot. Might need to be easy with the microphone, though. I don't know. Might have to do some editing.
Some of those toe taps going
That's
around.
right.
Going around third.
Tyler flying out to left.
We got a man there.
Yeah. Take care of it. Well, come on. Have a seat there, pal.
Hi, boys.
What's happening?
How we doing? There we go.
I'll unmute you there, Kev.
What's
How
up,
are you?
fellas?
Nothing much, man. Kevin McAlpin from 680 The Fan jumping in to make this a somewhat professional sounding broadcast.
I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
Well, you're not keeping a score sheet. What are we calling Freddie? I'm calling it an RBI double.
Oh, easy.
I'm going stand-up triple. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. I'm a homer. I'm going to say that was a stand-up triple.
Wow, you are a
I'm a
generous scorekeeper.
I'm a generous
I like
man.
it. I like it.
Hey, this is this is our 3rd game. This is the first time I didn't think that was Dansby. I immediately recognized it was Charlie from up here. This angle is messing with me.
We
Kev.
have these monitors that show exactly who it is.
Again,
Which
poorly
helps.
impersonating a broadcaster.
There's only a giant scoreboard with a name on it and a photo as well.
Well, we're not used to looking at all these different places. We're used to just talking to one another. So having to check our emails and texts and Facebook and the scoreboard, that's a lot of work.
Nobody's accused me of being smart, Kev. You've worked alongside me in the press box for 5 years, so.
I'm just used to talking to myself. I'm the only one who listens to myself.
1-1 the count on Charlie. Outside ball 2. Well, Kev, Frederick Charles Freeman is back. I saw your tweet yesterday.
He's ready.
He's ready?
Yeah, he's ready.
2 at-bats ready to go?
Yeah, just put him in bubble wrap and get him to New York.
Yeah.
No, it's good to see Freddie back. And we spent a lot of time on Zoom with him today because that's what our interviews are now, via Zoom. We're not in the clubhouse with these guys.
Charlie. Did he leave the yard, Greg?
Yes,
he sure did. Put one in the visitors' bullpen. Charlie clutch.
Oh, that ball just kept going.
He sure did.
You get it up. They seem to go further.
Well, Kev, how was Freddie's interview on Zoom? What did he have to say?
It was great, guys. I mean, obviously, I think that he went through a lot, to say the least. I mean, hearing his story and how bad things got. I mean, gosh, a 104.5 fever. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, he was in some pretty bad shape. But, he got back on the field yesterday. You guys on the social media side of things did a great job with the footage for all of us who weren't here yesterday. But, I think that, he FaceTimed his dad, showed him going back on the field. And, I think sometimes guys might take it for granted a little bit. And, for being as bad of a shape as he was in, to be back, to be healthy, he's raring to go. So 30 at-bats will probably be the target between now and when they start the regular season. But he's feeling good. He's feeling strong. Only lost 1 pound, too. I thought that was pretty remarkable, given as bad as the COVID hit him for a couple of days.
And Everest Solarte grounds out, second out of the inning.
We were talking about just the difference between pitchers and hitters, and Freddie's just a hitting machine. We know he can roll out of bed and start hitting. Tukey, we were talking about Tukey a little bit. Even though he was able to continue to work out, hopefully he can get right back in there. But Freddie, he's a professional hitter. He's going to always hit. The question is just the rest of the game. You're out there sliding. You're playing first base. You're just got a lot of other parts to the game, running the bases that you never know. You got to be careful of, but it's the hitting part, I don't worry about that part at all. Tukey, want to make sure he at least gets a couple innings in here next few days, and I think he'll be able to help us in the bullpen.
Yeah, it seems like Freddie can just roll out of bed and hit, doesn't it? He makes it look too easy.
He does.
I think Snit said it best today, too, and I've heard him say this before at spring training. Freddie will have 3 or 4 games right when games start in March or late February. He'll hit really well, and he'll get bored for a few weeks, and then he ramps things back up again. So, Freddie doesn't need a whole lot, and he makes it look too easy. But that swing, it's just so simple. It's so repeatable, and we've seen it even when he's come back from the wrist injury or whatever the ailment may have been over the years. He just seems to just make it look easy, roll out of bed, and here you go. I'll go hit 300 for you again.
Good pitch, Josh.
Yeah, William Contreras at the plate. Now, Kev, tell me something. William Contreras, he's a catcher by trade, but I've seen him out here in the outfield somewhere. What position is William Contreras these days?
There's no rules in these games,
okay.
As you can tell by the skipping spots on the scoreboard, as you can tell by playing 2 outs. Ben and I called the game on Wednesday night on 680, and we looked up and we're like, there's like 2 outs, and everyone's walking off the field. So
yeah. We tried to preach to our folks here joining us on Facebook and YouTube. These are simulated games, and we're doing some play-by-play, but they're kind of making up the rules as they go along as they need to down there, because pitchers are getting a certain amount of pitches. They're getting certain innings of work, and a guy might have his allotted number of pitches, and there's only 1 out or something. You just don't know, and then when we're changing it as we go along.
I thought Tomas Perez did a great job. He was playing right field the other night. He was moving around pretty well.
I'm going to call him for fantasy camp.
Hey, speaking of, we got to talk about that.
Hey, I love the new format. So one team gets a DH, one team doesn't. So that's how you make everybody happy.
Sure.
So the Braves are at home. They don't get it. They get a DH. On the road, they don't get a DH. So I think that's the way it should shake out.
It's July 18th, and on the scoreboard, Freddie Freeman is hitting .417. taking his numbers from spring training.
I like
There
that.
you go.
Story checks out story. Story checks out. That's what I'm saying. I'm going with that.
That'll work. But no, we've seen some fun stuff. I mean, you know, you've seen Braden Schlehuber was calling balls and strikes when these inter-squad games started. You've seen Tomas, you've seen Schley out there, you know, in left field. I mean, these guys have kind of all been wearing multiple hats, but it's been fun. And I think they're enjoying it too. You know, these guys are. Tomas played a number of years in the big leagues, and I think he has fun getting out there. But I will say this: the pitchers have done a great job of, you know, trying to get the adrenaline as best they can ramped up, because, you know, 6 days from now it's really going to matter. So I don't worry about this guy on the mound, but, you know, other guys, you want to see them really turn up that intensity, and you've seen that so far in these inter-squad games.
Well, we know he's ready. He's sharp.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt he's ready to roll. You know, what we saw from Max a little bit, there was, you know, a few innings, you know, one of the innings, maybe things got away from him that bit. But I think when he comes back, hopefully we'll see some good things from him. Hopefully he'll throw tomorrow, and he'll be ready to roll.
It's interesting, guys, and you've been around Soroka over the last couple of years. He's 22 going on 42. I say it on the air all the time. I mean, this guy is so much more mature beyond his years, and from a stuff standpoint, I mean, he said he wants to try to be – he feels even better than he did last year. That's got to be a pretty scary proposition for opponents here in this division.
Well, and as he faces Adani Echeverria here to start the top of the third, starts him with a strike. Greg and I were talking just a little bit ago, too, about when shortly after he made his debut a couple years ago, and he got shut down with the shoulder issues, and how scary that is. It's always scary when it's a shoulder with a pitcher, but when it's a young guy like him, it gets especially scary. But he certainly seemed to have done all the right things and has bounced back strong, and looks like he's going to be a Cy Young contender year in and year out for a while. 6th
last year, and I got a feeling he's going to be right up there with the best in the game again here in 2020.
Hit it on the nose, but we got a man there.
Yeah, got a man out there in right, too.
Well, and that's what's interesting about pitchers. When you're going well and you have command, then sometimes you don't get hurt by a pitch like that. Yeah, ball was up and away, and he drove it to right. But when you've been hitting your spots before that and you make a mistake, but when you're all over the place and then you make that pitch, it seems like it goes out or it's off the wall. So Mike's been looking pretty sharp for us.
Speaking of anything goes in a simulated game, Alex Jackson is a center fielder now, Kev? I thought he was also a catcher by trade.
You know what? Just go out there, stand there, and don't get hurt. I think that's the priority for those kind of guys.
That's what they always told me in Little League, but that wasn't always true. Missed a couple fly balls right off my nose, and I couldn't even do that part right. Stand there and don't get hurt.
Ricky, that's what your glove's for.
Well, they also told me that.
That's why you're up here.
That's why I'm up here. 1-1 the count on Alex Jackson. Center fielder today, Alex Jackson.
Well, you know, he was an outfielder for a brief amount of time. But
with the Mariners organization, is that right?
Yeah, the Braves wanted him back behind the plate, so he's made that transition back to catching. Can't be easy to go from outfield to catching and bounce back and forth, but he's done a nice job.
Listen, anything's better than catching. That's true. He's loving being in the outfield.
Yeah,
anytime you don't have balls in the dirt, they're coming up and hitting off your collarbone or your ankle, then that's a good thing. But you know, it doesn't seem like they're bringing up a lot of guys for these scrimmages right here. That they pretty much have the group that they're going to go with, and they're not, because they don't want anybody to miss out on the bats or miss out on throwing. So they've got a pretty good idea on who they want to be for, you know, out there for opening day, and they're just kind of going with it. Because I thought there would be some more guys kind of coming up and down, but what have you heard about that?
Yeah, you saw Braden Shoemake the other day get a chance to come up. That was kind of cool to see the Braves' young prospect get a chance to get some action here, and what a valuable experience that can be. But I think Greg's right, and they've got their cast of characters, and I think they know what this roster is going to look like. Couple questions. Look at Freddie. I mean, it's his first game back. Look at that.
He's ready, guys. Yeah. Over the shoulder, he's ready. I mean, come on.
Kid can play.
Freddie's ready to go. What, he's got I'm calling it a stand-up triple. Kevin's going to say that was a double. No, it was a double.
Yeah.
And an over-the-shoulder the catch. He's ready. Let's just go ahead and start the season. Freddie's here.
Put him in bubble wrap. Get him to New York, and let's just hit fast forward. That's all you got to do. But to Greg's point, I mean, I think it's a good point. You know, you don't want to bring a ton of guys up and just have them sit around. You want these guys playing and getting reps, and you do have the group at Gwinnett who's ready, you know, in the event of an injury or in the event that something happens. But I do think that, you know, third base is still up in the air. The 5th spot in the rotation is still a question mark. But other than that, you know, you don't have a whole lot of questions with this team right now, and that's a good spot to be in with 6 days to go.
Who's your money on, if you were betting, if we were starting the season tomorrow, who's your 5th starter?
Well, Fifth starter.
Just your Kevin McAlpin, professional broadcaster, your opinion.
You're teeing me up here. I'll say I think that there's a chance that Kyle Wright still wins that spot. He had a great spring training. I mean, I know he was a little bit behind getting summer camp going, but his stuff has really improved. And Greg, I'm sure you can speak to this, is getting that extra year of pro ball under your belt can do nothing but help. Also, getting that taste of being a big leaguer. Didn't have the success last year, but I got to think that through failure, you can learn a lot more than you can through success.
You can. It's sometimes it's difficult being up here and the lights are brighter and your things are moving faster. I think what's good if you come up, then you go back down, and then you get a chance to maybe evaluate. But we've seen some guys go up and down for years. I mean, typically minor league careers, 6 to 8 years. And most of that is going up and down from AAA, because at some point you got to turn that corner and you've got to establish yourself. And so you just never know with some of these young guys. My only issue, with him is that everything's so hard that, the fastball's, it looks good, but it's all the same speed. So at some point you got to learn, and I think Max learned that a little bit last year, where he was changing speeds a little bit better and he wasn't overthrowing. Because Max can throw hard, but then you got the big hook you gotta control. So I think for a young player, that's the biggest lesson to learn, is how do I tone it down a little bit and I vary my speeds. So hopefully he can learn that. But sometimes it takes some failure and then evaluating that failure, and that's where you're going to learn what kind of player he is. If he can come back this year and make some adjustments, then that he's got some special stuff.
I mean, he had a great spring training. Now, again, do you put a lot of stock in spring training stats? I don't, because we've seen that. You get fooled from that, right? Guys have a good 4 or 5 weeks. But I think that just what we saw this spring training, he was that much better, that much more comfortable out there on the mound than he was a year ago. He was in the rotation, obviously, due to injuries to start last year. But I think that what you've seen is, from a confidence standpoint, he just looks that much more composed when he's on the mound.
Well, you hit it on the head. I mean, confidence factor can take you to the next level, because if you feel comfortable and you have confidence, I mean, look at this young man on the field with all his confidence. He knows exactly what he's got to do, and it just takes you a long way. I mean, just go play around the golf, and when you're not confident, the ball seems to go everywhere. So it is good to see, and maybe that's the deal with Kyle. Hopefully we see some great things from him this year.
So, Greg, help me figure it out, Ricky. That's my problem. I don't have any confidence when I'm on the golf course. That's my issue.
Yeah, that was always my problem on the golf course, confidence. I always took the chapstick and put it on the club head.
Oh,
to
yeah,
fix
that
my
works.
slice. Yeah,
that's good.
That's what fixed my golf game. It doesn't do anything for chipping and putting, though, unfortunately.
Think about it. You can spend $50 to $60 for low spin balls, or you can just use chapstick.
Yeah. And I already have chapstick with me, so.
Just don't let your buddies see it, because they will ream you for it.
That's right.
Oh, man. Well, fellas, this is fun. I got to say, it's fun being back in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I've missed seeing you guys the last few months. But I got to tell you, that Omni pool deck over there and the balconies on the end, that's going to be the place to be when these guys are back home, because it's hopping over there. You can't hear it because your windows are closed, but when Freddie got that hit, fans are cheering for him and yelling, and it was really cool. So
there was a group of kids over there the other night for one of the scrimmages, and they had every time Ronald would come up, they would say, "Let's go Acuna," and then "Let's go Ozzy." They had a little cheering section going over there. Yeah, sure did.
How about that?
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It might be the hottest ticket in town.
It might be.
Looks like we got one person there on the very top balcony on the Omni, chilling on his couch, watching a Braves intra-squad scrimmage tonight.
Gotta love that.
And it's a beautiful night. I mean, I was texting Ricky a couple hours ago when the skies had unloaded, and I'm saying, man, we all this anticipation to see Freddie back on the field, and now we're not going to see it. But no, the Mother Nature cooperated. I'm glad she did.
Looks like Chris Russin's out on the mound now, going to take over the bottom of the third.
Yeah, the other night when he pitched, I was a little surprised, and obviously it was the first time out, but he's got the kind of stuff that, from a lefty, he's moving all over the place. He just didn't command it very well. So hopefully he's got a little bit better night in him, and he can get that ball down in the zone and get some ground balls for us.
Kevin, Greg and I have talked a lot as we've been doing these scrimmages, just the word depth. I keep coming back to it, and how depth is important in any championship season.
Sure.
For any championship caliber club. This season in its format, I think depth is at its utmost importance. Probably is unlike anything we've seen before in Major League Baseball. The depth is so key. And I bring that up when you got a guy like Chris Russin. I mean, it's anybody that's up here and in these scrimmages or that the team has brought up here, you got a chance at winning a job and contributing.
Well, especially with Will Smith still being out, dealing and recovering from COVID-19. We're hoping to see him before the season starts. But, again, you're down a lefty, so opportunity, and that's sort of what it's all about. But to your point, Ricky, about having depth, think about it like this. In years past, I can tell you there's been a number of occasions where I've gone to a clubhouse pregame to talk to a guy, and he said maybe he's not feeling all that hot. And you know what? Some guys just aren't going to get in the building this year. That's just how it's going to go. So, I think that you need that depth. You have it in the bullpen. You have it in your outfield. The Braves are in a really good spot, and I think that there's a lot of teams in baseball that are very enviable of the Braves situation, having that kind of depth at their disposal. Because, again, if a guy has even a slight temperature, they get to the ballpark, guess what? They're not getting in that night.
Well, and so far with the testing results we've seen, the protocols and everything so far seem to be doing a phenomenal job of keeping everybody healthy, but that's going to have to stay that way throughout the entire season. So
yeah, and look, I've said this on the air last night. Kudos to everybody involved. They've been taking this seriously. They're following the protocols. It's great to see. I mean, you've got over, 21,000 tests, 21,701 tests have been done since June the 27th, and you have 0.4%, 93 have been positive. So these guys are taking it seriously, Ricky. They're wearing their masks on and off the field. They're following all the guidelines. They understand what's at risk and how important it is to follow all these guidelines to a T. So probably the first few days it was a tough transition. But again, the players, the coaches, everybody involved deserves a lot of credit because the first 2 weeks, I said this a couple times, were so important to just get this thing rolling. And as Ben Ingram has said a number of times, the plane is on the end of the runway. Now we just got to get it off the ground.
That's exactly right. Less than a week away.
Oh, can't wait.
We kept talking about this during the first scrimmage the other night that we called. It just feels so good to be back at the yard, man, and watching the Braves out there on the field. But even though it's a scrimmage, it just feels so good just to see live baseball happening. Mm-hmm. We went for a while there, and we didn't know if we would see it or not, and here we are, and it just feels great. By the way, Freddie, it looks like he's in the on-deck circle. Yeah, he's going to get his third at bat of the night here in the third inning. And again, that's what we need. We need 30 at bats before next week. Well, you said he's already ready.
Yeah, he's ready.
Okay.
RBI double.
Okay.
I mean, he's ready to go. No, it is. It's
his swing looked ready to go.
But that's the amazing thing, Greg. He missed all this time, and it's the same exact. I mean, nothing changes. I mean, I think that's probably why it's so easy for him because it is such a simple swing. It's so repeatable. He has, he doesn't have a whole lot of moving parts there. Matter of fact, his dad showed me a video of one of his swings from when he was a kid, and it's like if I would have told you, tell me who this guy is, you'd be like, that's Freddie Freeman.
Right. And here he is coming up for his third at bat of the night.
I got Dinger.
You got Dinger? I like it. To right, I'm sure.
Oppo.
Oh, going Oppo. Wow,
Oppo.
I love it. Okay. Well, yeah, the last hit was to right, so he'll go Oppo with this one. Dansby with a nice little liner to his buddy Ozzie out there at second base. Looked like they were having a little fun jawing at each other as Dansby walked off the field into
Shocker.
the dugout. Yeah. Chris Russin on the mound.
Good pitch.
Whoa. Freddie with a little ground out and a little traffic jam over there at first. But again, Freddie, all we need out of Freddie right now, just getting in there, getting his work in, getting swings, getting at bats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a big sign will be how he feels tomorrow because this is the most he's ramped things up. You can't replicate any of this type of atmosphere when you're just doing the drills with the team being off. So a big part of it will see how he feels tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be a little sore, but man, he keeps himself in such great shape that I don't worry about any kind of setbacks. I think that I tweeted this yesterday with him coming back. I said, get him 30 at bats. He'll be in there against DeGrom. You think he wants to sit out against the Mets and Jacob DeGrom? No chance.
No. Well, everybody's already sat out, so
that's
everybody
true.
wants to play. So it's time the bell's getting ready to ring, and I know everybody who loves this game wants to be a part of it.
How are you guys feeling? I mean, usually by mid-July, we're wiped out. I'm sleeping till noon. I mean, we're all fresh. We're all ready to go.
Well, sleeping till noon is mid-season form for me. So, yeah, I'm feeling very fresh and ready to go. I'll tell you, Kev, walking into the ballpark for the first time about a week ago, just that feeling alone of just being able to walk back into the ballpark and seeing the field and knowing that baseball was coming soon, that was all the energy I need. And I know these next 2 months, these 60 games are going to go by, I mean, instantly. I was just talking to my girlfriend about that today. I said, this is going to go, I said, you realize I'm going to blink, and these 60 games are going to be over with, because a 162-game season tends to go by pretty quickly. I mean, don't get me wrong, there can be some long days. But it's still, you kind of look back around October or November, and you're going, man, didn't we just leave Northport? Didn't we just leave how's it over already? How's Thanksgiving right around the corner? So this season is going to fly by. But each game, 60-game schedule, each game is going to feel like, it's going to feel like, dare I say, a playoff atmosphere. Every game is so important from the get-go. Opening day, you can't afford to just drop a couple here and there. I mean, right out of the gate, you better be ready.
Think about it, and I looked this up. If you lose 3 in a row this year, that's the equivalent of losing 11 in a row in a regular season. Every team loses 3 in a row. Every team loses 4 or 5 in a row. That's part of it. I mean, that's just, good teams find ways to limit those long losing streaks, and that's what the Braves have done a great job of here the last few years. But, again, every team's going to lose a handful in a row. I don't care how good you are. So trying to get out of the gates hot will be extremely important. And I got a funny feeling when we get to the end of September, there's going to be one team that gets to the playoffs where you play 162, they don't make it. But if you play 60, someone's going to find their way in this year.
You want to take a little dark horse guess here for us?
Look,
if you had to pick on one,
let me just put this out there for everybody who hasn't heard me say this on the air.
Okay.
2018, Ben and I, or 2017, I'm sorry.
I know where he's going with this.
Ben
Greg.
and I did our preseason predictions. I said I'm going to go bold this year, and I said I'm going to go really bold this year, and I'm going to go with the Tigers and the Giants in the World Series. Well, if anybody wants to have some fun, look at 2018, the draft in 2018. The Tigers and Giants picked 1 and 2. I couldn't have been further off on my predictions. So now I'm not going to make any bold predictions this year.
That's always safe.
I'm out of the bold prediction industry.
Well, to be fair, you couldn't get any worse than that. So it's like you would have to have improved upon what you predicted that time.
Think about how hard that is to do. I was so far off. I literally had the 2 worst teams in baseball. That's hard to do.
Well, it's a story we're still talking about here a couple years later, and we're all very grateful for that. Chris Russin finishes off the third here. Pop out for the last out of the inning. Kev, how's young Max McAlpin doing? He's about to be a big brother, isn't he?
He's going to be a big brother September 30th. We got the date now.
All right.
Nice.
We scheduled the appointments, and everything's locked and loaded. So, I'll say this. During the shutdown, I've gotten really good at yard work. I've gotten really good at the house. The honeydew list has been done, checked everything off, cleaned out the closets, the basements, the garage is as clean as it's ever been.
Nice.
The nursery is done, the furniture's put together, the paint's on the wall. So we're ready to go. And I wanted to get as much done as I could because once baseball starts, I won't be doing any of that. So.
Right.
It's been a good time. We spent a lot of good father-son bonding time, a lot of time at the pool, as I'm sure most people can tell by my Instagram story. But it's been fun. It's been good. He's doing well. He's happy that Freddie's back. Everything's good in McAlpin land. That's for sure. So we're just all patiently waiting for next Friday to get back to the real work. I guess this is still work, but the real fun begins on Friday.
Absolutely. Well, if you're not already following him on all the socials, at Kevin McAlpin on Twitter and Instagram, and at 680 The Fan on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if MySpace is still a thing, but I'm sure if it is, that 680 The Fan's on there. You guys on TikTok, Kev?
I'm way too old for TikTok, Rick. You know that.
Me too, but I work in social media.
You're not
so.
far behind me either.
Oh,
partner.
I'm not, buddy. I'm not. But I'm trying to keep up with the kids on the talk.
I'm out. I'm out on that. I have not been suckered into that one yet.
How many innings we think Mike Soroka goes tonight? He went 4 the other night, and this is the 4th. He's got to go, what, probably 5
I would think
or
probably
6?
5. Probably 5 would be, because typically, and Greg, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but, that last spring training start of the year is typically the back down start, but you really can't do a back down start this time because you're still getting these guys stretched out.
Yeah, you're ramping these guys up. We're trying to get him to 5 innings so you don't kill your bullpen, but the way it's set up with extra pitchers, it's just going to be – it is what it is. Everybody's going to be in the same boat. So the way I was surprised that Mike, and I told Ricky this last week, I was surprised Mike went 4 innings the first outing.
Yeah.
But knowing that you only had 2, so it's a tribute to what these guys have been doing on their own, that they've stayed in shape. And so for him, looks like, he's been pretty stress-free this outing, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went 5 innings and then he could be ready to go 5 or 6 for the start.
Yeah, it's a testament to what these guys have been doing during the downtime, during the quarantine, as they've stayed ready. And we didn't know when the season would start, but that was, to all of them, they all took the attitude of, we have to stay ready for whenever the season is here, and it shows, because if they hadn't, it would show. We would all know it. You can't hide from that when you're out here on the field. And but when you've got a guy like Mike Soroka with his makeup, I don't think any of us were ever even worried about that for a second. You said it wise beyond his years.
I'm not surprised that Mike, I'm not surprised that Ozzie and Ronald and Johan and all these guys continued to work out. There was that group over at Campbell High that worked out together, and stayed, together. Acrobatics are in midseason form. But in all kidding aside, I mean, and that's something I asked Wash about. Wash did a Zoom with us last Sunday morning, and I told my wife afterwards I was ready to go take some ground balls and put in some hard work with Wash after listening to him speak. But he's like, we're a class act. These guys are hard workers. I'm not surprised at all that these guys are in midseason form, even though the shutdown lasted as long as it did. So, I mean, it's a testament to the work ethic that these guys have, young and old. I mean, everybody stayed ready, and because we knew that once the agreement happened, once they were cleared to get this thing going again, there wasn't going to be a ton of time. So, and then even Mike, I mean, looking at him, he talked about putting on a few pounds this shutdown. He just looks a little bit bigger and stronger, and that's scary to think about.
Yeah, I was looking at Mike Soroka's Instagram story one day, and he had put pictures up of his new gym his little gym he'd set up at home. And he had decorated it with just one thing, and it was a Metallica poster. Yeah. And, of course, that is near and dear to my heart. Mike Soroka, I'll go ahead and say, has the best music taste on the team, hands down.
He does.
When he comes out to Stone Temple Pilots, Metallica, he's a young man, but it makes an old man like me feel good that the young man out there can still listen to the music of my day.
Got the classics.
Yeah.
Well, are they even considered classics now?
I don't. You know what, Greg? Between trying to learn TikTok and trying to learn how to broadcast on Facebook, there's only so much time in my day. I haven't gotten to that yet.
You had
but
some YouTube videos on broadcasting that you broke out.
Yeah, exactly. And as the folks out there can tell, none of them have taken effect yet.
Well, we've talked a lot about pitches, but I mean, just right there with Ozzie, did a great job hitting. He brought the hands in. Got a single. Mike was pitching pretty tough. He threw him a really good changeable way, and then he came back in on him, pulled the hands in, and got a base hit over second base. So Ozzie does. We haven't talked a lot about Ozzie yet, but I mean, he looks just as good as anybody. I mean, he's come out ready to play, swinging good. He looks comfortable. Obviously, got all the confidence in the world. He had a great year last year, but it looks like he's ready to roll and for 2020.
Isn't it amazing that Ozzie's sort of the guy you don't even really talk about? I mean, he's such a talented young player, but when you've got the Freddie Freemans of the world, you now have Acuna, you have Marcelo Zuna in the mix. I mean, you've got a 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, and Ender Inciarte, the list, Austin Riley, the way he burst on the scene last year. You don't really talk about Ozzie Albies all that much, but I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch. He's another one that's been taking this very seriously. You see him making diving plays in right field. He's stealing second base. I got a feeling he's running here.
We got
Ender, a nice running catch in center. Ozzie back to first.
Well, Ozzie just does it all. I mean, he's solid in every part of his game, from fielding to hitting to base running to throwing. I mean, there's no gap for him. So when you see somebody that just does it solid all the time, yeah, he may not go out and hit 40 home runs, but, he's hitting 20. He's hitting 15. He's hitting 25. And so when you just see that and he's just solid everywhere, sometimes it's easy to get overlooked because he's not having that monster year. But he's doing everything right, and he's just a solid player. And, man, he just makes this team go because of his personality, too. I mean, don't forget about that.
Yeah, you can't forget about his personality.
He's got a lot of it, a lot of personality.
Yeah. When him and Wash start going at it and jawing at each other, there's nothing that makes me smile and laugh more than when him and Wash are getting after each other, because it's pretty much a daily occurrence.
I love the new celebration too, the foot tap.
Yeah, foot five.
Yeah, which you and Ben Ingram and myself we did a foot five, an Anchorman foot five the other day.
We did.
Trying to do our best to social distance, and while wearing our masks, I might add.
Look, I think about you and Ben often as I'm eating dinner, because the three of us, we have dinner together pretty much on a nightly basis here at the ballpark. Right around 6, I'll look at that clock and go, man, the three of us should be sitting there hanging out, talking about the game, getting ready for the 7 o'clock first pitch. So I've missed it, and hopefully we can do that again soon.
Absolutely. Marcell Ozuna. This one in right field looks like Ozzie. See, now Ozzie is certainly not running like somebody who's just out here going through the motions on a scrimmage. Comes sliding in.
He has one gear.
Scores the first run for the Braves against the Braves.
You know, Ozuna's a guy that just like with Josh, I wasn't sure how he was going to fit in. And just like I don't know how Marcel's going to fit in from the standpoint of, you know, is he just going to be one of those guys that's here 1 year and, you know, he has his time. But how is he going to fit with this team? Where is he going to make his mark? Because I think we all know that he's kind of a gamer. You know, when there's a big game on, I mean, he certainly did against us being with the Cardinals. But how is he going to fit? Josh fit in and just had a monster year. But, you know, where's Marcell? So, to me, that's a question mark. I know he's got the talent. I know he's played for a while and can do it. But I just don't know how he's going to fit and what role he's going to take on here on this team.
Yeah, it's curious because the Braves, now we have to worry about who's going to DH. That's a new wrinkle for baseball here in 2020. So if it's Ozuna, I think he could fit that bill really well. Let's not forget, though, this guy won a Gold Glove a couple years ago. I mean, he's had a couple of down years defensively, but, the guy can still play the outfield. So whether he's in left or whether he's DH and whether they mix or match, that's something Snit alluded to today. He said there's a possibility that if you want to give a guy a day off their legs, maybe it's even a Freddie Freeman where he serves as a DH on a certain night. That could be a bit of a revolving door for this team. But I do think you want to find one guy that can be the primary DH, and maybe you mix and match for a handful of games as you go through the season. But I like Ozuna. He had a rough spring. He was striking out a lot while we were in Northport. But guess what? You take some time off, you hit the reset button, never happened. And he's been swinging the bat really well here this last week or so.
Snit's got a lot of options, if nothing else. I mean, play the hot hand. You would probably do that in a normal set of circumstances, but in a 60-game schedule, having to fall with the catch in right field to get Austin Riley.
We know that it takes a special person to be a DH. It's just not that easy.
Right.
And I think either Adam fits that role or Ozuna fits that role, because that is just, you need a veteran-type guy. I don't see that being Riley being able to do that. It's just hard. It's just hard. So you need a guy that's got some, not that Riley doesn't have mental toughness, but you just see a guy who's a veteran, who's been around, who could play that role better than anybody. And I agree with you. I think Ozuna could do that perfectly, and I think Adam could do that well too.
Hey, shout out to Braves Vision. It looks like we now have ball strikes and outs up on the monitor here.
There you
Greg.
go.
Yeah,
you guys have really
I like that.
Hey, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Now we just got to remember to say them.
Yeah, well, that's you know what? That's probably why they threw those up there, because they know we're not smart enough to remember to say it. That's what it amounts to.
Don't sell yourself short, fellas.
We're piecing it all together here, Kev.
You're doing a great job.
We're keeping it real.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
I'm going to let you guys go here after this half inning.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the real broadcasters get back to it.
When do they get here?
I'll let you know if I can find them.
But please do. Send them down to booth 6.
Well, this has been fun, fellas. I appreciate you letting me pop in for a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Hope I didn't steal all your thunder here.
No.
There's no thunder to steal.
We need all the professional help we can get in the broadcasting world.
Again, if I can find some, I'll be sure to send it your way.
All right, Kev. Well, thank you so much. And
good to see you, fellas.
Yeah, we'll see you here in a few days for the start of the season.
Can't wait. Stay well.
All right, we'll do it. Appreciate you coming by.
Our thanks again, Kevin McAlpin, 680 The Fan. Joining us here on the broadcast as Yonder Alonso grounds out to Freddie to end the inning. We think. I always hesitate with these simulated games because I don't know if maybe they're going to go another out or, who knows. We're just making it up as we go along here. So
all right. We can call an audible.
That's right. Ricky Mast and Greg McMichael from the Behind the Braves presented by Billy Reed podcast, the official podcast of the Atlanta Braves, joining you here from Truist Park. And to reset things a little bit here for you, if you're just joining us or joining us late, we the good folks of Braves Vision set up a couple cameras for us here in the ballpark and threw us a couple microphones just so we could show you guys the scrimmages that are going on here at the ballpark. We are by no means professional broadcasters, if you haven't figured that out. And we're limited with the amount of people and personnel equipment we're able to get into the ballpark before the regular season starts. But we got together with Braves Vision and the Braves marketing folks and piece this together, and I tell you what, buddy, I'm having a lot of fun calling these with you and having a lot of fun talking with the fans on Facebook. And speaking of which, good question for you.
Okay.
Former closer, World Series champion, Bradley Ruff asks Greg, how was it to work under Bobby Cox?
Bobby was, something special. I only had a few managers in my career, but my first one was Bobby Cox, so I got the best one out of the way first. And, Bobby, what made him so special, and you hear guys talk about this all the time, is that he never threw anybody under the bus. I don't care what you did. He would never talk to the media, say anything bad about you. He always gave you every opportunity to do your best. And a lot of that, if you know managers and you watch the game, a manager can put you in really tough spots and he can put you in really good spots because he has to know what your best is. And so that helps you to be successful. So Bobby was great at understanding who you were and how you fit on the team, and he allowed you to excel by putting you out there. But he gave you every opportunity. And of course, every manager, I don't care who it is, if you don't do your job, they don't keep putting you out there. But if you do your job and you have a little rough patch, then they give you some time and they know how to work you, take you out, and then work you back in. And so Bobby was just good at that. And he was a man of few words. He didn't give us pep talks. Wasn't calling team meetings and all the time. He wasn't calling you into your office, but you knew that he wanted you to be successful because he would put you in the right situations. And then he gave you, and I have to say, Bobby, he gave me my start, him and John Sherholtz. They picked me to be on this team. I was the only rookie on the team, and I was a non-roster guy, and they gave me a chance. So
in 1993, right?
That's right. So
a couple months later, you were a closer.
Yeah, ended up getting to close that year, half the season. And I think that was Bobby's best trait, that he just and he only had a couple rules, and that was don't wear the Oakley sunglasses, don't wear your hat backwards, and don't have a beard.
Don't have a beard, okay.
And make sure you look sharp out on the field, and your jersey wasn't hanging out. So he just had, I should say that. So on the field, look professional, and then in the clubhouse, there was no music,
For a second, I thought you said don't have a beer, and I was like, well, I couldn't have played for Bobby Cox then, but of course, that would have been why I couldn't play for Bobby Cox, the no beer rule, right? Yeah, not because of the fact that I couldn't.
There have been a lot of people that weren't able to play with that.
Tyler Flowers at the plate now, facing Chris Russin. 0-2, the count.
Chris is pitching better tonight. That's good.
Yeah, he's
getting the
good.
ball down.
And Kevin McAlpin made a great point with us there a few minutes ago with Will Smith. While we're still waiting on him to be cleared to return, maybe there is a spot for a guy like Chris Russin, left-hander out of the pen.
Well, he's certainly got big league time. He pitched with the Rockies and some other organizations, and so he knows how to pitch, and tough pitching in Mile High. Well, I'm sorry, not Mile High, but Coors Field.
Well, it is a Mile High. You're not wrong.
That just dated me right there.
Tyler Flowers flies it out to center. And I'm going to be honest with you, Greg, since they've been mixing and matching, I'm not sure who's currently playing center. That might be Alex Jackson, but I'm not entirely sure of that. But whoever he is, he definitely caught it.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still out there. Ronald's in right.
Okay.
And you got Ozuna in left.
There you go.
I don't think you have enough players to mix and match right now. I think we got our 9 and 9. So.
Well, we're getting much closer to opening day. We're less than a week away. Certainly all these guys that are actually going to be on the team getting as many at-bats, as much time out there on the field as possible. Charlie Culberson up now. Had a nice little dinger into the visitors' bullpen earlier in tonight's scrimmage. It's hard to put a numerical value, at least in my opinion, on what a guy like Charlie Culberson brings to a team. The numbers, he's one of these guys, don't get me wrong, I very much believe in all the numbers, but he's one of these guys that I just think that he's able to contribute in ways that sometimes the numbers don't always illustrate.
Sure. Well, he certainly had some great numbers coming off the bench. There's been times.
The base hit through the left side there. Charlie heard us talking good about him up here, so.
Yeah, 2 for 2 tonight. But, Charlie is one, if you've ever been around him, he's super positive. He's kind of one of those glue guys in the clubhouse. And, we talk a lot about that, but that's a real thing. You need people like that who serve a role that is a tough role. I think he likens himself to like a reliever because you're just prepping the whole game, not knowing when you're going to be in, and then you're asked to be in a very critical part of the game, and that's either a pinch hit or you're a late defensive ad, and it's just a tough role because you got to stay in tune with the game throughout the whole time, and you can't check out. And so Charlie's not one of those guys, because if you watch him, he's on the dugout, he's talking to guys, he's staying in the game, he's paying attention, because you got to know you're going to be up there in a critical position. And it's kind of like a reliever, same way. You can't check out for 7 innings and then all of a sudden be really good in the 8th and 9th. It just doesn't work that way. You really got to prepare mentally. And so that's why Charlie, with his role, is a very tough role. And then also with his attitude, being a glue guy, he just is a complete package. And I love what he's doing. I like being around him. He's super positive.
I love getting to watch Freddie Freeman back out there taking it at bat every inning. That's certainly been no matter what happens tonight with results and how everybody plays. The most important piece of news tonight is that Freddie Freeman, number 5, is back out there and he's getting his work in and he's getting ready. And all signs point to him hopefully being ready for opening day. There's nothing official there. That's just pure speculation on my part. But I think now that he's back and he's out there getting his work in, I think you'd have a hard time keeping him out of that lineup on opening day.
Yeah, I mean, he looks good to me. So it's kind of like if a starting pitcher can go 5 innings, then Freddie, if he really needed to, he could go for 4 innings and then come out, and then the next game he works up to 5 and 6. Really just want to make sure there's no extra soreness tomorrow. There's nothing going on. He doesn't tweak anything. And you just really want to be careful of that. But he looks perfectly fine to me. But there again, tomorrow's going to tell. You'll be able to tell tomorrow and the next day. And as he works, I'm sure he'll be a little sore and, legging out a triple. What was all that about? Why would you just pull up after a single?
He's ready.
Because he's a competitor. He's a competitor, right?
He's been chomping at the bit to get out here. I think that's probably what it is more than anything.
Good pitch right
got him
there.
looking.
Good boy, Chris.
Freddie's got to be, and it's hard to see from up here, but he's had to have been grinning from ear to ear tonight out there. To be out there, he was grinning ear to ear on cloud 9 yesterday, just being back at the park. Of course, it was an off day, no scrimmages yesterday for the club, but he had just gotten cleared, so he and Tukey Toussaint both came out here, both clear, both worked out at the ballpark, and you could tell he was just on cloud 9 just to be back here, and so now to be getting live at-bats on the field against live pitching, it's got to feel so good for him. It certainly feels very good for all of us in Braves country watching, that's for sure.
Well, just an added benefit. We had that rainstorm come through, and it cooled things off because the way I was feeling out my yard earlier today, and how it feels now, oh my gosh, it was miserable.
I went for a little jog around. I live here in the Battery, and so a lot of times I'll go for a jog kind of around the perimeter of the Battery, and I was only out there 15 minutes, and I looked like I'd been swimming in the river for a couple hours, drenched. It's cooled off a little bit though for the guys out there this evening.
Nice.
Nervis Solarte playing second tonight at the plate.
That makes me think we've not seen a whole lot of pickoff moves for these guys. You'd think they want to be practicing that a little bit. So maybe that's low on the priority list at this point.
It might be.
When I saw that, I thought, hey, we haven't seen a whole lot of pickoff moves. Keep these runners close. That was a great job of keeping him.
Keeping him on?
Just the lefty, the no look, looked like he could have gone over. And those lefties they're tricky. They've got 4 or 5 different looks. They can look at the runner at first and throw over, and then they can look at the runner at first and throw home. Then they can look home and throw home. They can look home and throw to first. So, it's just tougher to run on them.
How was your pickoff move when you were playing?
Well,
how would you grade yourself?
Yeah, I was average. I mean, there again, it's just what's tough about it is that your attention is divided. So I really wanted to focus. I kind of took a little bit of the Greg Maddux approach where I'm just going to worry about the hitter at the plate, because if I try to worry about 2 different people, then I'm going to get in trouble. And I'd rather give up a stolen base than a home run. So that was more of my thought process.
Joshua Baker on the Facebook comments. Awesome, the Braves are winning. That's right, Josh. They sure are. Looking good so far. But I want to say it earlier, Mike Soroka had a no-hitter going through 3, at least by the scoreboard he did, Greg. But I thought about bringing it up, but then I thought about that whole jinx thing we talked about the other night. I don't want to. I mean, it's a scrimmage, but I don't want to be the guy that jinxes it even in a scrimmage.
I'm not saying anything about how fast this game's going.
Oh, you just did it. You did it. You made it rain the other night. You cut the game off short.
I did. I wish I had that much power.
Chris Russin, 30 pitches of work tonight, 17 strikes, 13 balls. What'd you think of his outing tonight? You said he looking pretty good. Looked a lot better tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looks better. I wish he took his upper body towards the target more. He tends to throw and recoil and stand up, and I think that makes him a little bit inaccurate. But I love his stuff. I mean, the way his ball moves, obviously being a lefty, those guys, he looks a little unpredictable. And but there again, you were talking about, we don't know about Will yet, so we're definitely looking for a lefty to be in there in the mix. And but yeah, I mean, he's here for a reason. He's got some good stuff, and definitely had better command tonight.
Absolutely. Peyton Stone on the Facebook comments says, "Who is winning? The Braves or the Braves?" I can't answer many questions as a professional broadcaster impersonator, but Peyton, I can answer that one. The Braves. That's definitely the answer.
There's been a lot of questions about that. I think they like that joke.
That's right.
And you started that.
Well, I know. It's like a dad joke, and I keep going back to it, despite the fact that I'm not a dad, or at least that I'm aware of. Let's hope.
Well, we won't go there.
We won't go there.
But Mr. Soroka's out for another inning.
Yep.
That's good.
Well, he went 4 in his previous start, and again, we hadn't heard anything from Snit, or if Snit had said something, you and I weren't able to hear about it, but we assumed that Mike would probably go 5 tonight.
Definitely not had any stressful innings, so this is good for him to be able to stretch it out and work on. I saw a couple good change-ups while Kevin was in here. We were talking. I did see a couple change-ups that he threw that were better. He had Ozzie way out in front on one that he pulled, and that kind of set up some pitching for him. So that's a pitch that he's got to get going. So it's good to, as you extend your time in a game, that changeup becomes more and more valuable because they've seen your fastball. They're able to time, the timing's getting better for the hitter. Because remember, hitters get better the more they see you.
Right.
So that's what I loved about being a relief pitcher. I might see one guy, a month, the same guy, but these starting pitchers, they see a lot of guys. So this changeup is a valuable pitch for Mike.
Mike facing Adeiny Echeverria, lead off the 5th. Adeiny, a late-season acquisition last year, and boy, he contributed from the get-go and continued to contribute the rest of the season. We knew what he could do with the glove, but he came over in the trade and provided some immediate pop as well. I mean, we knew he's got Gold Glove caliber defense.
He's amazing on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some big hits.
Was really, given how he performed when he came over here last year, I was
comebacker.
Let's hope that
Nice
just
play.
bounced. That might have glanced off Mike's glove.
Yeah. Well, there's such a thing as PFP, right? Pitcher's fielding practice.
Right.
So that's the stuff you get a lot in spring training, and then it takes you on to the season. You really don't do a whole lot of it the rest of the year because most of the time that ball that comes back to you is all reaction. You can't just – but it's good to be able to have some balls hit back at you like that. Now, in the minor leagues, we practice that a lot. We'd have pitching coaches that would just haul off and just hit bullets back at us for 30 minutes. We're just sitting there going through it. And so you learn either that or you die. I mean, you learn how to react, and most of the time you're just reacting to it.
Gets Alex Jackson to ground out to third on the first pitch. I'm starting to wonder, Greg. It's 2 outs already. I wonder if we might see a 6th inning out of Mike at this rate. Of course, this is a simulated game, so he could just stay out there and face more than the 3 hitters if he gets this. If he gets the third out quickly, although he's got a pretty tough out in that third one in Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for finishing your inning, going, sitting down, because that simulates exactly what happens in a ball game.
Sure.
So if they do want to stretch him out, if he hasn't had a whole lot of pitches, they may have him go back out there.
Well, Greg, as a former big league pitcher, and we talk a lot about this on Behind the Braves, presented by Billy Reed. I always enjoy hearing your analysis of pitching and pitchers. And Doug on the Braves Facebook page asks, "Can you talk about Soroka's repertoire?" So, what do you think, just of Soroka's arsenal and your analysis of it?
Well, I love the fact that he he has the ability to pitch inside with a ball that runs down and in to a righty. So he's got that power sinker. I mean, he does throw hard enough, and then you add the movement to it and the late movement. It's just a huge weapon. Then he can come back and throw a slider, and then developing that changeup just makes him valuable because think about it, he can get ground ball outs, he can get fly ball outs. He has practiced last year. He was throwing the ball up in the zone, and so here we are. We're going to keep going.
He got the third out, and Tyler Flowers immediately threw up his hands behind the plate there to let everybody know to stay out there. So he is going to stay out, and that's what we were just talking about in a sim game. Maybe they've decided 5 innings is what he's going, but he's gone 60 pitches so far. So clearly they have him scheduled for a few more than that. And so, again, simulated game, you can, well, as we see the outs there, we just went ahead and forgot that last one. We're going to go back down to 2 outs.
We didn't
want to
give Ronald out. We wanted Ronald to go
great point.
0 for 1 and not 0 for 2.
He's going to face Ozzie here. And Ozzie, like his friend earlier, Dansby lined out to Ozzie earlier, and now Ozzie lines out to Dansby. And I'm going to say that Mike's going to have to get a 5th out to get out of this inning, Greg. Looks like they're going to stay out there for a little bit longer.
Well, he's completely in command of what he's doing. And just to finish off what I was saying, that what makes him so tough is that he's got a lot of weapons, whether it's a slider, whether it's a sinker, that ball that digs down inside to a righty or away to a lefty. And then he can also throw the four-seamer up in the zone, which, nowadays we see a lot of guys doing that, elevating the ball because the hitters are trying to elevate the ball with their swing. So that ball is really tough. But yet he can pitch, traditionally just down sinkers, low and away, sliders, low and away. And so his stuff is great because he can get you out in a number of different ways. He doesn't have to just pitch up in the zone. You see a lot of times pitchers, they can only pitch down or they can only pitch up or they can only throw breaking balls. What makes him so valuable and why he was in the Cy Young conversation is because he can do all those, and he can do it on both sides of the plate. And so he's really he's poised to be just right up to the top of the leaderboard every year because you don't find many guys that can do all those different things and have that many attributes. That's what makes him special.
He's letting it fly out there now, too.
Yeah.
This was probably around 2016, 17, somewhere in there, somewhere before Soroka had really, when he was still a young guy, had just recently been drafted, and I was talking to a member of the Braves front office at the time, and we had all these pitching prospects that were down in rookie ball or A ball mostly, and I was kind of saying, for you, just between us, I was like, which one do we need to be watching out for the most? I mean, which one is your guy? And he emphatically, and he had good things to say about all the pitching prospects, and he honed in on a few, but he emphatically started with Mike Soroka. If you made me pick one, that's the guy. That's the one to watch. And he said mainly because of his makeup, not because of the stuff or anything else. We know we've got that, but the makeup was there.
Yeah.
And he gets, what are we on now? Out number 5 for him at the ending? Is that 6?
That's 6.
That's out number 6. Okay. Well, he's 63 pitches so far. So they're going to leave him out there. I guess they're going to leave him out there until he gets whatever number of pitches.
I think the hitters are wanting him to leave.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're done with him. They're done with seeing Mike Soroka.
Okay, can we roll it up, please? Okay.
Right.
We're not going to be facing him, so can we get somebody else? Hitters don't like those sinkers. My experience that is a tough pitch, especially as hard as he throws it, and then knowing that he has those other weapons, it makes it more difficult.
Marcell Ozuna going to get his crack at Mike Soroka now.
Oh, he's had plenty of cracks.
He's had some cracks. He's going to get one more. He was probably thinking he was done with facing Mike Soroka, but not quite so lucky. 94 miles an hour. Right down Peachtree. I'm going to go to my broadcaster.
At the knees is the key.
At the knees, that's right.
Of course, you couple that stuff, and you made a good point. You couple that with the attitude, the mental toughness, the maturity that he has, that brings it all. I mean, we've seen, and the joke is, you could beat the 27 Yankees in a bullpen. I mean, I've played with guys who you would think, how is this guy not getting anybody out in the game? But for some reason, when you get out on the field, your hands get a little tighter, your mind starts playing tricks, and you just can't get anybody out.
Ender back to the warning track and just has it just shy of the wall there. Yeah, that was had him all the way, Greg. Had him all the way.
But that is the point, that you can have all this great stuff, but if you don't know how to execute it, and you don't know when and how, then it's really not as good. But because he finishes it all off with his maturity and his mental toughness and just his, being smart. I mean, they talk a lot about just the wisdom that he has for such a young age. It really is the complete package.
Well, he's up to, if I'm not mistaken, he's now gotten 7 outs in this inning, Greg, I believe, aren't we? So we're looking for out number 8, somewhere around there.
Hey, let's just go.
Keep going,
They must have him on 65 or 70 pitches.
Well, he's at 65, so I'm guessing we're gonna take a wild guess to make 70 to 75 pitches. Must be what the pitch count is for Mike Soroka tonight, facing Austin Riley. Austin playing third base tonight. I've seen some folks asking about Camargo or Riley at third, and I don't think to me, I could be totally wrong here. I don't think we're going to know the real answer to that question probably until the Marlins come to town for those exhibition games Tuesday and Wednesday. I think that will be the first time that Snip maybe tips his hand a little bit at what the opening day lineup's going to be. Now, again, there's so much depth here that he can go lefty-righty in so many different spots that
sure.
Now, granted, Kevin McAlpin, who joined us earlier, talked about how he thinks that maybe they will go with somebody as the primary DH instead of mixing and matching with that as well. But, all that remains to be seen.
Whatever it takes to win.
That's right. 94 miles an hour again. Man, Mike is feeling good tonight. He is ready for opening day.
Maybe they've got a bet down there that says, how long do you think Mike can go without giving up a hit? And maybe the coaches are, they're sitting, Walton and Snit are sitting back there. Maybe they got a little bet going on. They're just going to let him keep going.
Mike delivers his 69th pitch of the night. Austin fouls it off. I think as he approaches the 70th pitch here, I'll go ahead and say this is his last hitter of the night. I'm going to say it.
It's a nice round number.
Not too bad at all.
1-2 count. I'd say he can do that right here. All right, here's a good sinker. Let's see what happens. Yeah,
fouls it off again.
That is a tough pitch. He wanted no part of that.
In on his hands.
Just diving down in there. I mean, it's hard. You just cannot keep that ball fair. It is really difficult to do because it's not only going in, but it's going down. And so to be able to get those hands turned and get the ball going that way, I mean, it's not, the odds are not good. So you better just let it go.
Tyler Redmond asks, who would you compare Riley to as a hitter? As Austin puts one, looks like he's going to split the gap there, Greg.
Yep.
Ender comes up with it, going to limit Austin Riley to a single. Well, I don't know. I will say this. This is the one I've most often heard other folks compare him to. And I try to be careful about prognosticating or speculating about what a guy is going to be, especially a young guy, because it's almost unfair to both parties. But the name I hear most often compared to Austin Riley is Troy Gloss. I mean,
a lot of it's just his body type.
Right.
Third base, body type, swing, Yeah, I know. It's unfair. We always want to categorize guys and put them in, you're like this guy or like that guy. But I think that would be fair just because he looks like him and plays like him.
Well, it looks like Mike Soroka is done for the night. As we said there, looks like he was slated for around 70 to 75 pitches. And looks like to hear more good news. We've been talking about how great it is to see Freddie back out on the field. Looks like to me that Touki Toussaint has entered the game. He also was cleared yesterday and looks like he's going to get his first on-the-field action of summer camp, which is a great thing to see.
Beautiful.
Touki is one of those guys that he's just so easy to root for if you're around him at all or you know his personality or all the person that he is. He's just such a guy such an easy guy to root for that you want to see succeed, and the stuff is certainly there with him, and it always has been from the time he was drafted as a prospect. I mean, the stuff's always been there. It's just, when will he put it all together? And I think it's coming. Again, makeup with him kid's got great makeup, so I think it'll come for him. It's just, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, you never know. There again, he's shown glimpses of greatness, and being in command, and then he's shown glimpses of not being in command. But the bottom line a coach wants to see, a manager wants to see, is that you're consistent, and he's just not been consistent game in and game out. He's come in, he's had some starts, where he started, he's had some good innings, and then he, had some bad innings, and then he's come in as a reliever, He's had some good outings, and he's had some really bad outings. So the only way to get yourself on the team and to create a role for yourself is you got to be consistent. The manager's got to know what's going to happen when you get in the ball game. And if it's always a question mark, then you're just going to stay on that up and down carousel.
And it's tough for a guy like Tukey trying to win a spot who then has to sit out for the first big chunk of summer camp. Had to be weight to cleared. Had to have a couple negative tests to be able to be cleared to play again. But the good news is he is back here now, and presumably he was working hard during quarantine and during the time that he was still waiting to be able to come back. And
well, let's hope this is the year.
Let's hope. Facing William Contreras. Start off the bottom of the fifth. Starts him with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Ball one.
And let's be honest, too, for a young guy to come in and to try to be a reliever is difficult, especially if you don't have a lot of experience in doing it. Sometimes you were a starter all through the minor leagues, and then you come to the big leagues, and maybe you get a chance as a starter, and you don't do very well, and then they say, well, we like you, but we want you to try, and we work out of the bullpen. So that's a big adjustment in and of itself. And the thing about a relief pitcher as opposed to starter is that the starter, they always deal with adrenaline. Adrenaline for a starter, the first inning is the toughest. For a reliever, you've got to manage that every time you come out. And so if you don't do that, then you're going to struggle and get behind, and then that leads to problems.
Well, if Tukey does that, he'll win himself a job pretty quickly. Got him looking with a breaking ball for strike three.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was his best breaking ball. I think he froze him because it was kind of inside. So just need him to relax a little bit and start making his pitches.
Ender Inciarte playing center field tonight. Then after Ender, we will get to see Charles Freeman make another at bat tonight. Ender skies one to right. Ronald Acuna camps under it. He's got it. No, he doesn't. He deked me out, Greg. He literally did it. He got me.
Yeah, they'll do that to you every now and then.
I told you he got me on Freddie's double earlier tonight. He got me again.
See, if you notice, Tukey, everything's up in the zone, so he's a little jacked up right now. He's probably pumped to be out here.
Sure.
First day back, second day back, and now all of a sudden he's pitching the game, so he's going to have to get that rhythm down a little bit slower, let that heart rate rest a little bit lower. That was a better pitch, but, that's so easy to do as a pitcher, just to get that, let that adrenaline take over, and you just, you don't manage it well. And but it's so critical especially for these young guys, because once they start getting down in the zone, they get confidence, and then it's a game changer. But you got to get to that point first. It's a good pitch. Like a changeup right there.
0-2 the count on Freddie. Well, Freddie's definitely getting his work in, that's for sure. By the way, if you look up on, we're looking at the scoreboard here at Truist Park, and he's listed twice on the lineup up there, getting his work in tonight. He's getting his money's worth, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How great is this, though, just to see these two out here at the same time? Tukey and Freddie facing each other, both cleared to play. And now they're both back out here on the field for this scrimmage tonight. It's great to see. Look at Freddie. Freddie, like I said earlier, Freddie has just been grinning ear to ear, happy to be back here.
All right, Tukey, right here, buddy. Make a good pitch.
Full count. Tukey Toussaint facing Freddie Freeman. Lost him. Now, let's see. You think Freddie's actually going to run here? Freddie's getting his work in. He's getting a lot of work in.
I'm surprised he took a walk. Thought he would.
Yeah, he's going to go out there.
Might have been one of those continual at-bats, like the continual inning that Mike had.
Sure, could be. Could be.
Well, there's something to be said for just seeing pitches, right? These guys, they just need to see pitches. So I can understand why he doesn't necessarily have to swing, but he being in the box, seeing breaking balls, seeing changeups, seeing fastballs is positive.
Dansby Swanson up at the plate now. 2 outs, top of the 5th. Starts him off with a 84-mile-an-hour strike.
So a little slider right there.
Beautiful night here at Truist Park. The rain came in, cooled things off a little bit.
Dansby's been a little quiet. I didn't look back at his numbers for the spring, but he's another one of those guys that he just fits in well with this team. You know, he's played solid shortstop, and then at times he's shown some really good, you know, hitting the ball really well. He just has a tendency to pull off, especially on those sliders. I'm wondering when that's going to change for him. You saw some glimpses last year where that was kind of his approach. He knew the year before he got abused with a slider away, and so he really had a concerted effort last year to really work on that pitch, start driving to right field, because the pitchers won't stop throwing it. If they know that's a weakness, they're going to keep throwing it to you. Let's see if he comes back with a slider right here.
Two and two the count. Well, Dansby, as we talked about, came up so huge in the postseason last year. Got him swinging. All right, looks like that's going to be. Yeah, Tukey's got his first inning under the belt, and look good out there. That's great to see. Great to see. And just because he came back tonight, that doesn't mean he can't win a spot on that opening day roster.
No.
I don't know if that's. I don't have any idea what the plan is there, but it bears repeating. You know, if he looks good and he looks like he's ready to go, he could find himself out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's 30 spots, right, to start, and I don't think he would be out here pitching if he didn't have a solid chance of being one of those 30 guys. I mean, you could say the same for Chris, you know, Russin. There's going to be plenty of guys going to be playing this year. You got to get them ready.
Yeah, and forgive me, I saw the comment has already passed in the Facebook comments, but somebody asked us or asked you who's your dark horse candidate to make this team. I don't know. For me, with the expanded roster and so many guys in play here, I don't know if I could hone in on just one guy. There's a few at play here.
Yeah, I don't think any of these guys are dark horses because they're all here, and you know there's just a limited number of guys that are playing. I think the better question is who comes out shining in this shortened season. I think that to me is an interesting dynamic where you don't know how guys are going to perform. We've talked about Ender, you know, in the past about how he has such a slow start. In a traditional season, he struggled when it's cold. Well, what happens now? I mean, we're in the middle of July, and the season is going to start at the end of July. You know, what happens? Does he come out of the chute with a totally different perspective? What does that look like?
Right.
So,
Greg, looks like we're going to have Huascar Noah out there pitching the next inning, if I'm not mistaken. And we can't, it's not up on the board yet, and we're a little far away to be able to see, but believe that's who's out there. My apologies if I'm butchering his name.
No, I don't know. But I think we saw a little bit of him. He came up for a little bit last year, correct?
Believe so, yeah, I believe so.
Just a short stint, and definitely saw him in spring training.
We got to remember to bring our binoculars up here. This is one of those things we're learning on the job about how to try to successfully get one of these broadcasts done. Is we got to have some binoculars up here just in case.
You can see the guy warming up in the bullpen.
baseman number 45, Yonder Alonso.
Yonder Alonso back up at the plate. And yes, Noah did, in fact, pitch a couple innings in the big leagues last season. Came over in a trade with the Minnesota Twins, 2017. Again, if you missed it, Yonder Alonso, along with Josh Tomlin earlier today, were added to the Major League roster for the Braves. And Josh Tomlin was a guy we looked at who was probably had a pretty good shot of making the team. To begin with, he contributed a lot out of the bullpen last year, was pitching when the Braves clinched the division last year. And again, with the starters maybe going, at the very least, an inning or two less than they would normally with the amount of time they've had to prepare, guys like Josh Tomlin, other guys out of that bullpen are going to be that much more important to piggyback a little bit here, especially the first couple weeks of the season anyway.
Well, I'm excited the fact that just to see somebody, Soroka, to go as long as he did. Of course, a lot of that's contingent upon how well you're pitching. But still, that depth comes into play. A lot of these great arms that we have in the bullpen. And, I think at least we know everybody's in the same boat. It's not like you get in a situation during the season where you get 3 or 4 guys hurt and then, you're kind of crippled by that. And you got to bring up a bunch of young talent, and you don't really know what to expect. Here, everybody's kind of starting off the same way. I think that's where we get a huge advantage with our guys.
I'm looking forward to those first couple of exhibitions against the Marlins here at Truist Park next week, Greg. I am very curious to see how Snit will construct that lineup on opening day. I mean, we've talked about Camargo versus Riley, who's DHing. I mean, how much thought have you given much thought to how you think you would construct that lineup? Or, I mean, I think we know the top 3, right? We know Ronald Acuna leading off, playing right, presumably, most nights. Ozzie Albies playing second, batting second, as Adeiny Echeverria flies out to center. Freddie Freeman, we're going to assume now that he's back and getting his work in, we're again, speculation on our part, but we're going to assume he'll be in there opening day batting third. And then after that, that's where the choices start to come into play. And there's so many different ways Snit could go. It'll
right.
We'll just have to find out.
I would imagine to start, he's going to put Ozuna in there in the 4-hole, and
do you think he DHs more often than not?
Well, we know he can.
Right.
I think you got fewer choices to DH. I don't see putting in some of the young guys. He may. Personally, I would rather see a more experienced guy being a DH like Ozuna or Adam Duvall, and then obviously if you got a righty in there and you got Camargo batting and or Riley against a lefty, so you've got some choices there at third base, and and I think there again it's going to he's probably going to give everybody an opportunity early on, and then it's going to come down to at some point the hot hand, where we know we've seen that. That's just what managers do. I mean, you don't have guys on six-year contracts with hundreds of millions of dollars where they're going to have to play them. You obviously don't have Josh Donaldson, who's going to be on a big contract, so you've got a couple younger players, and you've got to see how they're going to respond. And then you're going to try to get them playing time, but if one guy takes off, you're going to be putting him in the line, because the bottom line is you got to win games and you got to win them quick.
Alex Jackson fouls one off, 2-2 count.
But I think the bottom of the lineup with, you've got Dansby and Flowers.
Well, and Flowers and Darno, and that could be interesting. Darno could end up seeing maybe more of the at-bats and the games than Flo. But, again, Snit can mix and match there as he sees fit.
I mean, we know what kind of hitter he is traditionally. I mean, he's not a 300 hitter. He's 250, 260. And so he's going to be towards maybe I would imagine he'd be down towards the bottom of the lineup. But there again, you've got your firepower, 1 through 6. You've got those guys up there, and they should be able to do the job for you. I mean, you want your catchers, their main job is going to be working your pitching staff and making sure those guys are doing what they need to do to be successful so your top of the line can come in there. And
Alex Jackson showing off some oppo power there,
Wow.
Greg. Puts one in the chop house seats. I was going to brag on Alex looking good out there in the outfield. Primarily been a catcher the last few years, and showing off the oppo power. Does the foot tap with Wash over at third.
that's a big hit right there.
I hear the siren going out there. The home run siren is alive and well here at Truist Park. And presumably you folks out there are hearing some crowd noise as well.
I can hear it a little bit.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds good. Nothing like the real thing, but you know what? That's going to be a good substitute until we can get the real thing back. That's for sure.
It's a big arm out there. Pretty good pitch right there. 97 on the outside black.
He's facing a big talent at the plate, too. Ronald Acuna, who I've been seeing on Twitter, Greg. I believe MLB on Fox. I believe that's who ran this poll. Running a poll to ask fans who would be the National League and American League MVPs this year. And Ronald Acuna Jr. was the winner of the National League MVP fan vote. And granted, I will give Braves fans on Twitter a lot of credit. If there's a poll out there with one of their guys in play, they will win it pretty much every time. As Ronnie
Got a good
went out
pitch.
to Dansby, legs it out there.
He got in on his hands, but he was not going to throw Ronald out.
Look at Ronnie over at first, celebrating, dancing, giving it to Dansby a little bit. Again, we're glad you're joining us here tonight. This Braves scrimmage. Ricky Mast, Greg McMichael from Behind the Braves, presented by Billy Reed podcast. It bears repeating. We are not game broadcasters, but in an effort to be able to bring you some Braves baseball and show you these scrimmages, they throw us some microphones and said, have at it, boys. Here you go.
Yeah, this is fun. Love seeing live baseball. Nothing like it.
Saturday night, beautiful Saturday night here at Truist Park.
It is Saturday night.
It
God,
is.
I forgot.
Ozzie up at the plate now. Flies out to left. And he'll be the third out of the inning.
Good job, Noah.
Looks like, I don't know if you have, our first base coach this year, of course, Eric Young has opted out for the season, and so DeMarlo Hale down there at first base. Do you know DeMarlo at all?
I do not have not had a chance to meet him yet.
Well, I'll tell you, he wore a GoPro for us here last week, and if you follow the Braves on social media, we got to see some great footage of what it looks like from the first base coach's perspective. And kudos to him for doing that. And he wore it for a while, too. I know that's got to be a little uncomfortable having a camera strapped to your helmet. But he and Tyler Flowers both were kind enough to wear GoPros. So if you haven't checked that footage out, you can see it on the Braves social media channels. The catcher cam is very cool. See what the catchers go through back there behind the plate.
All right, looks like we got a new pitcher.
Again, we need those binoculars, Greg.
Well, they did not let us know who was pitching tonight, so I think it was just a little bit of a mystery.
Well, if we can't tell, I'm just going to start making it. I'm going to say, I'm going to put you on the mound here in a minute.
We got another lefty.
Warming up Greg McMichael. Not really.
Got a lefty here.
Might be Grant Dayton, Greg. Might be Grant Dayton.
Good call.
I think he came over, Alex Anthopoulos, Braves general manager Alex Anthopoulos, familiar with Grant, his days with the Dodgers, brought him over to the organization. So Alex obviously well acquainted with what Grant Dayton is capable of. I believe I just heard the deep pipes of Casey Motter announce over the PA that this is indeed Grant Dayton. You gotten a chance to see Grant pitch before, Greg? Will this be a first time?
I think this will be the first time where I've seen a lot of him.
You've done a lot of coaching and instructing as a former big league pitcher. I'll ask a dumb question. I fully acknowledge this is a dumb question out of the gate, but for you as a right-handed reliever, was it any more difficult for you to teach a young left-hander at all, or was it all the same to you? Again, I know that's a dumb question, but I'm just curious from you as an instructor what that was like.
Well, it's interesting that question came up a lot. I have a young left-hander. Do you think you could work with him? Well, yeah, I think the body moves how the body moves. So there's certain mechanics that happen, and whether it's a golf swing or a baseball swing or throwing a baseball, throwing a football, there's just the way the body's made. It has to do certain things to be successful, to repeat that action over and over again. So it doesn't matter if you're on the left side or the right side. Like we talked about earlier, maybe it was in the last broadcast, lefty typically has some natural movement, and it's kind of different. Lefties, a lot of times, people don't mess with them a lot because they see that natural movement that's different than a righty has, and because there's not as many left-handed people, then the hitters don't see lefties as much, so they don't want to mess with it. And so, yeah, it is the same, but you got to understand, really, the key is understanding how the body moves and how you are able to make that ball consistently go where you want to. Yes, we have plenty of guys that throw hard, but really it doesn't matter how hard you throw. It's really about where you put it, and you need to understand that so that you can be successful. We see a lot of guys go out there and they just throw hard, and yet they're walking people, they're giving up doubles, and then you get a guy who doesn't throw as hard, but yet he goes out there and gets ground ball after ground ball after ground ball and gets out. So it's really more about that. I think we get enamored a lot of times with how hard guys throw, but it's really not what makes you successful.
Certainly not what made Greg Maddux successful.
No.
Wasn't the radar gun.
Or Tom Glavine.
Or Tom Glavine,
right?
True.
There's plenty of examples of guys who threw hard and were successful, and guys who didn't throw hard and were successful. It's really not the common denominator. There were many other things that they did well that made them successful.
Grant Dayton gets Adam Duvall looking for the first out here. Tyler Flowers up at the plate now, and every inning Freddie Freeman on deck. So great to see Freddie back here, as we've been talking about tonight. Grant Dayton on the mound out of Winter Haven, Florida.
I always use the example that, Nolan Ryan, one of the hardest throwers that ever played the game, he was a 500 pitcher. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame, gazillion strikeouts. But the winning percentage sometimes tells you all you need to know, but it's not the only stat. But there again, if it was all about throwing hard, then he would have never lost a game.
Sure.
And so you want to make sure that you can put the ball where you want to, and that's why these little lefties are sneaky. And right now we need a lefty, so we've got to see one of these guys, whether it's Chris or
Chris Russin,
else.
Grant Dayton.
Yeah.
There's some candidates here. Grant Dayton gets Tyler Flowers to fly out to center, now facing Freddie Freeman. Well, if Freddie soared at all, we certainly aren't seeing that tonight. He is batting every inning tonight. Saw some video of him at the ballpark yesterday in his first workout after being cleared, taking some cuts in the cage, and looked great. There's that old thing in baseball of certain guys, the ball just sounds different off their bat.
Yeah.
All right, now you believe that to be true?
Well, no, yeah, I do, because I listened to Mark McGuire take batting practice and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds, and the ball did. I mean, the bat speed is different, and the ball can't go all that far if you don't have something different. And we talk about that with Ronald too.
Right.
The ball coming off the bat just has a different sound to it.
The first time I got to see Ronald in person, spring training, I believe it was 2018, might have been 2017, but it was on a backfield, and he was just taking BP. And I was right there at the cage watching, and instantly I had that thought of this just, and we've been down at spring training watching seemingly everybody pitch, take batting practice, everything. And the first thought in my head was, man, this literally does sound different. This sounds different than everybody else I've been seeing. And I kind of had that feeling a little bit yesterday with the batting cage footage of Freddie. It's like, man, it's just Freddie's one of those ones, not nearly to the level of a Ronald Acuna or somebody like that, but it's just there's something about his swing. Freddie's swing almost. I remember when he first came to the big leagues, his swing kind of looked a little awkward almost to me, but boy, I got used to it pretty quickly. That's for sure. Charlie Culberson, he's had a good night. Home run to left field. Another base knock after that. And he's going to go up the middle for another one, Greg. Charlie Clutch. Feeling good tonight.
Have a game.
The crowd's going wild. They love Charlie Clutch.
Number 70,
Well, Grant's one of those guys that he's going to give up some of those little, what we call CNI singles, little ground balls up the middle. But, he has a chance to get a double play right here. And he's got to mix in all his pitches. He's got to change speeds. And
Dale,
he's going to do a lot of that right there.
Sure. Well, and to that end, Dale, over in the Braves Facebook comments, asks who will be the middle relievers at the start of the season. Well, that's what we're seeing here tonight. Is we're watching that competition happen before our very eyes with Chris Rusin, Grant Dayton, Touki Toussaint. And now, granted, there aren't many spots to fill in that bullpen.
No,
there are a couple. So whoever wins it is going to be the hot hand. That's for sure.
You got 4 studs at the top, so there's not a. That's kind of a misnomer. This bullpen with 4 different closers. Then there's not. You hope that your starters. You don't need middle relievers, because if your starter can go 6 innings, then you've got 7, 8, 9 covered. The only time you're going to need a middle reliever is when your starter only goes 3 innings or 4 innings. And you're going to need a guy to go 2 or 3 innings to get you through. And you hope that's not the case, because your winning percentage is not going to be very good if that's the case.
Right.
But you occasionally are going to need a guy that can extend, and that's where Josh Tomlin, right. is valuable, because he filled that role. And possibly Touki, that's where he could come in, where he can extend and throw 3 or 4 innings.
Alan Barry on Braves Facebook page. I've never been so excited about watching a practice in my life. Yeah, I hear you, Alan. Me and you both. Matthew asks, who do you think is going to be the biggest contender for the Braves in the NL East? Boy, I no disrespect to the Marlins, but my first initial answer is anybody, probably everybody but the Marlins. But of course, Kevin McAlpin said earlier when he was joining us that in a 60-game season, he believes there's going to be at least one team that sneaks in there that nobody saw, and you just never know. Well, with the Mets, every year it seems like with the Mets, it's always if their starters can stay healthy, then they've got a legit chance at it. Philly is a team that has the talent there. And, of course, the Nationals, it pains me to say it, but they are the defending world champs. So you're not going to find a tougher division, that's for sure. Now that being said, the Braves are back-to-back NL East champs, hoping to make it 3 in a row and obviously make a deeper run in the postseason this year, hopefully all the way in the postseason this year. I think and don't get me wrong, I know Anthony Rendon is not there anymore. I know some things have changed with the Nationals, and again, it pains me to say it, but you have to give respect where it is due. They are the defending world champions, and so based on that alone, I would be apt to say probably the Nationals if you made me choose. But you've got 3 really, really good teams that you're facing off against there in this division. And who knows what the Marlins are going to do. They're young. You know?
You never know. It's just one thing I love about the game of baseball is that everybody starts on the same equal footing. And it's just interesting. We don't know how the dynamic of this season is going to play out. So that's another thing that I'm real excited to see how this is going to be. But you're right. There's no tougher division in my mind than this NL East. And we know any of those teams are on paper good enough to win the National League East. It's just that I like our chances better because we know what our team does, and we know how good they are and how deep they are. And so I don't know. I haven't studied the other teams as much to see if they're really that deep. But I think it's going to be important this year. And like every other year, I don't think just because it's 60 games doesn't mean it's not going to be important to have depth.
Travis d'Arnaud leading off. We start the 7th inning here, Truist Park, in this Braves intra-squad scrimmage. 4-2. Braves over Braves. I'll let you figure out which Braves are leading. Hopefully the one you're rooting for out there.
Close game. See a young guy like this with a big arm, it really comes down to his secondary pitches.
Jonathan says also we're playing the AL East. Yeah, that's another twist in this season is that we're not exactly facing a soft division over there in the AL East. I mean, Orioles are rebuilding, Blue Jays are young, but still I think they're further along than the Orioles, but I think I would still classify them a little bit closer to the Travis d'Arnaud. Showing off the power again, double down the left field line. Well, I'm giving him a double already, Greg. He better get in there and not make me wrong. Acuna already made me wrong with the deke and right earlier. So, and Travis does indeed slide into second for a leadoff double. But yeah, facing the AL East, and we, to be fair, we didn't get the easiest draw in the AL East either because there's a differentiation of we're not playing all 5 teams 5 games or anything. We're going to play the Orioles the least amount of times, which. No disrespect to the Orioles or their fans out there. My best friend is a big Orioles fan. I'm sure he's watching and will be letting me know that I dissed his O's after this. But
but just 20 games.
Yeah, but if you're giving me, I would like to face the Orioles more than I would the Red Sox or the Yankees, or the Rays for that matter. We saw the Rays.
You can't, look past the Rays for sure. I mean, that's a tough team right there.
But the good news is, our rivals in our division all have to face those teams too. Now, maybe some of them got a little easier draw with the number of games that they're playing the AL East opponents, but at the end of the day, pretty close to even. Even though it's a 60-game season, I'm telling you, whoever makes it to the postseason this year, especially in our division and out of the AL East, since we're talking about them too, they're going to have earned it.
Exactly right. I just love that we're talking about baseball.
Oh, amen.
I mean, that's the beauty of baseball is that you can argue and discuss and talk about this till you're blue in the face, which if you're on Twitter or if you're any of the other things, that's what we do, right? People talk about it. And
it's part of what makes it so great.
It's
such a conversational game.
That's
whether
right.
You're at home watching or if you're at the ballpark watching.
Well, you got time to talk about it.
Yeah.
You got 9 innings.
Well, that's what differentiates it from all the other sports is
that's right.
Got time to sit about it. Marcell Ozuna goes down on strikes, and Austin Riley, one of the debates, we've touched on it earlier, and I've seen it going back and forth a lot in the Facebook comments here of Austin Riley or Camargo at third base. Who's going to be playing there? And I've seen Braves fans debating that one, and I haven't seen any wrong answers so far because people are saying, well, I think Camargo is better defensively, or I think Austin is ready defensively, or you can DH Austin or play him in the outfield. But the thing is, you could almost say the same thing for either of them because they can both play some in the outfield. Third base is their natural position for both of them. Johan, you can play anywhere in the infield. You can DH either. You probably won't see Johan at DH very much, I wouldn't think. Never know. But that's one of the great things. That's one of the great debates. And again, it's a baseball cliche, but it's a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have if you've got too many guys for the number of spots on your lineup card. That's a great problem.
Yeah, I mean, if Johan gets hot, and the good thing he's a switch hitter. So if you put him in as a DH and he's seeing the ball really well and hitting, and you want to keep him in the lineup, that's a great spot for him. These guys are all versatile, which is great. I mean, he can play third, he can play second. And, Riley can play third. Riley can play the outfield. Ozuna can play outfield. He could DH. So, I mean, Snit just has a lot of options. And there again, you have options if everybody's doing their job and everybody's doing well. You don't have options if everybody's in a slump.
Sure.
So let's keep that in mind too. We just hope that there's plenty of options because everybody's swinging the bat. Oh, about 80 mile. Well, that's a great play by Dansby right there.
Dansby recovered there. Got Austin Riley.
He made that look easy, and that was not an easy play.
Charles asks, where will they play the games against Toronto on the road? That is a great question. You know, it came out today that Toronto's at least to
They
start.
can come here. Just come here and play.
You know, and who knows? Maybe that's.
We'll just call them home team.
That could be what happens. I know I've seen Buffalo as a possible destination. I've seen Florida at the Blue Jays spring training home. So that'll be another thing to keep an eye on is when we have those road games against the Blue Jays, we'll have to find out where those are played.
Let's make it as tough on them as possible to just come here. They
bring
can
them
just
down
travel.
here?
They just travel the whole season. They just go to everybody's home and away.
Well, as a Braves fan, I'm fine with them just
Yeah.
coming here and playing their home games here against us. I got no problem with that.
No, I don't either.
Yonder Alonso at the plate now.
There's no empathy
No.
for another team.
No. None whatsoever. Again, when you played on the 95 World Series team, that was the last shortened season we had in baseball. And granted, that was a good bit longer than this one's going to be, to say the least. But what was that like for you guys? Because it was a strike at that point, and there was some uncertainty about when the season would get started. So what was that like for you as a big leaguer? And you'd only been, well, you were 2 years in at that point, but trying to stay prepared physically and mentally for a time that was uncertain. I mean, how was that for you and your preparation as a player?
I mean, it was hard, but being young and a little bit more flexible with, you just had to do whatever you could to have the mindset that it could be tomorrow, it could be next week. And we were going to have a spring training. We just didn't know how long it was going to be, but we knew it would be shortened. So it's very similar to the situation here with these guys, knowing that they would have some time to prepare, but if you weren't already prepared, it was going to be tough on you. And the last thing you want to do is get injured because you weren't staying prepared. So as best you could, you still had to go do your workouts. You had to throw. You had to find a place to throw. So, you know, I had a guy who had a training facility, and he'd catch me, and I'd go up and teach lessons just to make a little bit of extra money. And then, you know, I just tried to approach it like all I can do is just be prepared. And it worked, and we ended up having 3 weeks, I believe, to get ready. And I don't think I remember suffering anything ill effects from that. I think it was plenty of time. Part of that was because I was a reliever. Oh, nice.
Nice pick at first there.
Yeah. Is that Adam?
I believe that was indeed Adam Duvall there playing first base, and he fooled me at first because that was such a nice pick. I thought, man, is Freddie still out there? They got Freddie back out there. Okay,
wrong hand.
Yeah, wrong hand.
Yeah, that was good.
Nice pick for Adam.
So we've seen Shane Green pitch. We have not seen Melanson.
Yeah, you and I personally haven't seen Melanson pitch yet. And this is the third game we've called.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Again, he may have pitched one of the days we were not here.
Mm-hmm. We haven't seen Kyle Wright throw.
Another interesting thing Kevin McAlpin brought up when he checked in with us earlier. I asked him for who could possibly win that fifth spot in the rotation, and he's not counting Kyle Wright out yet, which is interesting. Kyle Wright, first-round pick out of Vanderbilt a couple years ago.
He's been flying under the radar a little bit.
He's got the stuff.
Mm-hmm. We saw Luke throw. He looked good.
Luke Jackson did look good. Again, we'll.
Now pitching for the Braves, number 64, Jacob Webb.
Jacob Webb out there. That's what we were trying to see. Again, we don't have our binoculars out here. We were trying to see who was coming in to pitch for the Braves. We've kind of got the same view that you folks do, the bird's eye view here. So.
And we did see Jacob pitch before. He pitched the first game that we did, correct?
Pitched a few nights ago. And again, his new number is, I know when he first came up last year, I can't remember I believe he was 71. He was 70-something, so now he's switched jerseys on us here. So.
Okay.
Well, that happens when you're in the big leagues. You first debut pitcher, sometimes you got like a 70-something on your back. Or the longer you make it, each year that number goes down a little bit.
Yeah.
Although you were 38 from the get-go, like we talked about the other night.
Yeah. Well, we got a second. I want to send a shout out to some big Braves fans in Knoxville up in God's country. So Steve and Heather Winfrey, big Braves fans, and they texted in and said hi and go Braves. So wish them the best. They're doing. They're excited about baseball as well as we are.
Amen to that. I like how you always try to refer to your area of Tennessee as God's country. That's what I've always referred to as my area of Virginia, but we'll agree to disagree on that.
All right.
Something else we can debate. Jacob Webb going to face William Contreras to lead off the 7th inning here. I like Jacob Webb a lot. He first came up this last year. I thought he looked great. And again, going back to that question about who are the middle relievers going to be in this team, here's another guy. I mean, it's limited spots in that bullpen, but there are some spots available. So these guys are all competing for a job. I mean, this is a scrimmage, but it's a pretty darn important scrimmage for a lot of these guys out here, trying to win a job on that opening day roster.
Well, and Jacob fits that kind of mold of a guy who has had some success, pitched really well, but then had some injuries, got him behind. So he's trying to stick too as well. And he wants to, solidify a spot for himself in the bullpen. The tough part is that, like you said, there's not a lot of spots. But he's definitely a guy that can help this team. He helped us last year. He just has to show that he can stay healthy, that he can do the job day in and day out. But I like his aggressiveness. He's, he definitely, did a really good job when he was in there last year. He just unfortunately got hurt a couple times and spent a little bit of time on the DL. But
Martha Curtis checking in on the Braves Facebook comments. Hi from Salisbury, North Carolina, Braves country. Hi, Martha. Great to have you with us. Great to have all of you with us here tonight. And we thank you, pretty much all of you, for being so kind to us and understanding that we're learning on the job with this whole broadcasting gig up here. They usually just let Greg and I, they give us a tape recorder and some microphones, and they let us interview people, and then it's not live, so we can go back and delete all the dumb stuff that we say. We don't have that luxury with this. That one's – oh, man, Greg, I thought we had that foul ball. That was coming straight back for us. Thought we had one. Well, our windows are shut, though, so it would have protected us. The first night we had the windows open, there was one that came back, and neither of us were, again,
we weren't ready.
Rookie mistake as a broadcaster, not paying attention. That would have clocked one of us had we not been had it had a little more gas behind it.
We had a man there.
My buddy, our buddy Gabe Burns, covers the Braves for the AJC. He texted me. He said, "What if I told you a year ago you'd be calling a game at Truist Park in July featuring Freddie Freeman's debut?" And I'd say, "Well, Gabe, some things have changed, or there's been a glitch in the matrix somewhere."
That's right.
But I'll tell you what, I sure am happy to see Freddie out here. I'm very happy to be doing a poor broadcasting impersonation up here and watching Freddie Freeman, who is on deck again, by the way. Ender Inciarte at the plate now.
He is certainly getting his at-bats in tonight.
I think he's gotten an at-bat every inning, Greg, if I'm not mistaken. The plan is, from what we were reading earlier, for him to get his 30 to 35 at-bats before opening day next Friday.
Well, that's 7 times 5, right?
He's well on his way.
Right.
Yeah, that's about right.
There's 5 spots left, right? This is the 2 more scrimmages and then 2 games, so that he'd have to get 7 a game.
Yeah. At this rate, he'll get there. That's for sure.
Even though one was a walk, it won't count.
Jonathan, hi from Beaufort, Georgia. Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you. Glad to have you with us. Victor says, "Thank you guys for Behind the Braves podcast." Well, thank you, Victor. That's one of our favorite parts of our job, is that we get to do this podcast, and how Greg and I first came to know each other 2 years ago launching the podcast, or how probably the worst 2 years of Greg McMichael's life, having to work alongside me. Brad, greetings from Thomasville, Georgia. What's up, Brad? Glad to have you with us.
Ender has certainly got his cuts in tonight. I don't know how I would characterize them as he's letting it go.
Right.
But I think he needs to fine-tune a little bit. He has been definitely a free swinger, I would put it, tonight.
Michael Isbell in the Facebook comments asks, when the season starts, will all the regular cameras be used? Michael, that's a great question. I'm not exactly sure. I think that personnel will still be limited, but I'm sure that it will look much closer to a regular broadcast than you're used to. Again, tonight, for these scrimmages, the fine folks at Braves Vision working their tails off to get some cameras in the ballpark. And again, there's limited personnel, limited access. But they're able to get a couple cameras out here for us to be able to show you these scrimmages live. But I'm guessing that once the regular season starts for your regular broadcasts, and you don't have to deal with us anymore, you'll be glad to have Jim, Joe, Ben on the radio side, Chip and Frenchie and Glav on the TV side. I think things will look a lot more normal.
Well, these are fixed cameras, and then Fox Sports Southeast will be having their cameramen shooting the game.
Ender pops it up to second. Ozzy's underneath it. He's got it.
See, like that pitch right there, looks like he's just trying to go deep. He's done that a few times tonight where he just took that high pitch and tried to hit it a million miles and just popped it straight up. That's not going to help us with Ender. We need him getting on base.
Freddie Freeman back up at the plate again. Mickey Seward checking in on Facebook. 9-year-old Gibson Seward is having a blast watching the Braves from Orlando, Florida. We're so glad they're back. We are too, Mickey. And Gibson. Keith Williams says, hello, Keith from Richmond, Virginia. I wonder if that's, I think I might have gone to school for a year, college for a year with Keith Williams. Wonder if that's the same one. Could be. Vegas, baby. Go Braves, says Leonard. Selena, greetings from McAllen, Texas. North Ogden, Utah. That's Rodney checking in. Randy checking in from Rock Hill, South Carolina. David Conrad from Chesapeake, Ohio. Eric, hi from North Dakota. Glad to have Freeman back.
Got him from all over.
Braves country is, I was going to say nationwide. It's international. I saw somebody checking in from England earlier.
Nice.
Your daughter's in New Zealand. So we know we got Braves country represented over there.
We've had fantasy campers from Ireland, Saudi Arabia. So we're some Braves fans over there that are teaching. Come to fantasy camp.
Kim Gregg's Perth, Western Australia watching. All right.
Oh, I got a note the other day from a gentleman from Perth, Australia, that was wanting to come to fantasy camp.
Really?
Yeah. Down under, we got them all. All parts of the world.
I wonder if Peter Moylan, longtime Brave Peter Moylan, I bet we picked up some more Braves fans from his tenure as a Brave.
Possibly.
Hope we'll see Peter on some Fox Sports South pregame, postgame shows this season. One of our great guests we've had on Behind the Braves, presented by Billy Reed. Always has a lot of personality. 2-2 the count on Freddie. I'm sorry, full count on Freddie. My apologies.
Let's see if he takes a walk this time, but I don't think.
I think he's swinging.
I don't think Jacob's going to walk him. I think Jacob's going right after him.
I think Freddie's swinging no matter what here.
Hey.
I couldn't swing at that one.
No, that was hard.
Yeah.
So, he is taking it.
Freddie's gotten his work in tonight. Let's see if he goes over there first or not. He might just head on back into the dugout and have a seat. It looks like that's what he's going to do.
I don't blame him.
I don't either.
First game back.
Batting every inning. Again, it's so fun. I'm sorry. Now, Greg, look at the lineup on the board now. And I know you folks at home can't see it, but the big, beautiful scoreboard here at Truist Park, Freddie Freeman is now listed 3 times in the lineup out there, because that's about how often he's hitting.
Yeah.
Once every inning. Addison checking in on Facebook says Freddie has walked 3 times, so he only has 2 of his 35 at bats. Getting that's technically, you got us, Addison. That's a good call.
We're going to blame that on Kevin because he distracted us when he came in.
Scott Gage asks, are there any limitations of Freddie Freeman at this point? If there are, I haven't heard Snit or Freddie say that. And
No.
it's certainly from what we've seen tonight, I haven't seen any yet. I
No.
mean, he's out there batting every inning. He's gotten about 7 at-bats tonight. And he's looked great doing it.
Is that it?
Looks like they might be wrapping up out there, Greg. All right, well.
They had a lot of ball game there.
Yeah. I'm going to chalk tonight. Boy, tonight was great all around. Mike Soroka looked great. Got his 69, 70 pitches of work in there, maybe a little bit beyond 70. Freddie Freeman got his work in. Tukey got a clean inning in there. All in all, this was a really, really productive and great night for the Braves as we get ready for the 2020 season.
For sure. Anytime we can get out there and play and get these guys at bats and get them pitching, it's good for us. We've got a long way to go, and it's good to see some of the guys who we watched earlier that had some rough outings come back and make some better pitches tonight. And so I think just these guys got to get their legs underneath them, and having nights like this where it's a beautiful night and no rain, it's a bonus.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, whether you're watching on the Braves YouTube channel or the Facebook page. It's been our pleasure to be able to call some of these, and looks like we'll probably be with you the next couple nights as well. So keep those questions coming on the Facebook comments. And, yeah, and if you haven't already done so, check out Behind the Braves presented by Billy Reed, wherever you get your podcasts. For Greg McMichael, I'm Ricky Mast. Go Braves.